The problem is not what other people think about you. The problem is the meaning that you give to that. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Vanessa. Welcome. And thank you all for tuning in. I look a little tired today, but that's okay. Don't look at me. That's not about it. It's not about me. I think this is a really important and interesting topic, and a topic that most of us have dealt with at some point in our lives. Maybe you're dealing with it right now. Judgment. Fear of judgment comes from maybe having been judged growing up in childhood. Maybe there is a parent or a caretaker that you know that is very judgmental. And that may lead to internalizing, judgment, and looking out for judgment and fearing judgment. If you have social anxiety, for example, and I've said this in another video before, social anxiety can be a consequence of having grown up with a judgmental caretaker, parent, somebody around us. Maybe it was not your immediate family, but maybe it was an uncle or a grandmother or a teacher or your peers in school. And when we grow up in a way where we often feel like we cannot be ourselves, or being ourselves will be judged, we start holding back, or we start becoming the rebels, right? Either way, we may feel uncomfortable around other people, which also translates into not feeling like we can trust other people with seeing us in a positive light. At the end of the day, it also has a lot to do with trusting what people or how people will receive you when you enter a room, any kind of room, at work, at a party, at a friend's space, with strangers, whatever it is, for a date. There's so many scenarios I could name right now. Excuse me, guys. And what I really want you to think about is, in what places or in what situations in life do you feel most fear of judgment? Which of the rooms that I just mentioned is the scariest for you to walk into? Maybe there's even another one that I didn't mention or didn't think of. But I think it's so important to face these topics, because at the end of the day, the world mirrors us back what we feel about ourselves. And when I think about in the past having walked into rooms and feeling like I wasn't adequate in some way, either I didn't feel skinny enough, or I didn't feel pretty enough, or I didn't feel appropriate enough in whatever way, cool enough, or whatever is your equivalent, then this is often how we feel about ourselves. And this is internalized criticism that comes from the outside world, because we're not born criticizing ourselves. We're born quite pure and naive in a way. Yeah, we're born from love. So as we grow up, we take in all the knowledge from our surrounding of how the world works, of what we should be careful with, of what means danger, of what means defense, and all these kind of things, right? So if we learn that we need to hide or defend ourselves or will be judged, we may fear that, okay? And now that you are an adult, it's time to release that fear. Because really, like I just said in the beginning of this episode, it's not about what other people think of you. But I can tell that to you. But me just telling that to you and you hearing it will not change anything in your system, because the fear sits in your nervous system. The fear sits in your body, in your cells. And if you have a self-critical inner narrative that you tell yourself constantly, and now listen to that, this is really interesting. often we don't even realize our inner narratives. Sometimes they are so loud that we realize them and hear them and notice them and acknowledge them, but sometimes we do not. Like, I've had some narratives going on in my subconscious mind that took a long time to be lifted up to the surface, for me to notice them and observe, oh, this is interesting. Every time I do this and this, I feel like I'm a bad person or I'm too much or whatever. And we all have that. So sometimes on top of very old beliefs sit other beliefs. And as we lift those beliefs, as we do the inner work to release and basically start accepting ourselves more, deeper rooted beliefs that maybe we haven't been noticing, that are simmering below and have, like, I don't know why, but in my imagination right now I see like a zzz, like a certain frequency that we haven't been able to pick up so quickly, and that sits underneath, and that is very subtle, that may already be appearing to you like it's part of who you are, like it's part of your thinking, or part of, the interior of your mind and body. But then at some point it starts bothering you, and you start feeling like, why am I thinking this way? Or there's like this negative notion, or even a sensation in your body, maybe in your heart, maybe in your neck, maybe in your belly, wherever it is. And it's so funny that sometimes it takes a while to realize that you tell yourself something. And so today I just really want to make you aware that sometimes there are negative beliefs and negative narratives that we tell ourselves, that we act on, that we are not aware of. So just ask yourself, what is the thing I do that doesn't actually feel so good, that I am not aware of yet? And for me, it was definitely this idea of I'm a bad person. And I'm just going to use today my personal example, but it could be anything for you. So come up with your own personal realization on that. I just want to share this personal example because I think it may help you understand the process that I've been using. And please comment below, what is yours? Okay, so don't leave me hanging. Share yours as well, even if it's just one word. I'm curious. So my one that I've not been aware of for my life is that there's a very subtle, and not even strong anymore because I've done a lot of self-work, but there's a notion of something that has been coming to the surface the last few months, where I feel sometimes like I'm a bad person when I go for what I want, when I am dressing the way I want, when I am expressing myself freely the way I want without overthinking it, when I come up with new programs or ideas to help, people, to help clients that have maybe not been done before, or not in the way that has been done before. And I was curious about, okay, that's interesting. So it comes up often in those ways that I just explained. So you could now go with, oh, what is the thing that I believe about myself that I'm noticing? And then see where it comes up for you in your life, okay? And then after that step, you can journal that out, for example, write it down. Writing is always really good to get it out of your system, and maybe even read it back. And then the second step I did was like, okay, so let me go back in time and just notice when that was very prevalent in my life. And so I followed it back, the steps that I could remember. I was in meditation. I would go into meditation, but you can also just sit and journal. And I would realize, oh, wow. First of all, one of my parents came to mind that would, like, I grew up with a parent that was quite judgmental and quite immature in their ways. And that is okay for me now, But back then, obviously, it was hurtful. So I had to check in with my inner child there and see, all right, what did you learn from that parent? And I learned that, I often felt, or most of the time when my parent was at home and I was at home, that I couldn't get it right. That there was always something my parent would be mad at. Yeah. So they would be mad at me most of the time. So that would have internalized in my inner child, like, which my inner child would have interpreted as I'm a bad person because my parent is mad at me all the time. So that means I'm doing something bad all the time, which translates to I'm a bad person. And so that was a realization that I had. For you, it could be something else, right? But then I went even deeper and dove deep and understood, okay, so where else did I feel that? Was there a component also in school? Because these things can be fragmented, right? It can come from home, it can come from our peers. Have you been bullied? Whatever. And so I realized that also as a child, I always had really wild clothing, like really interesting colors or interesting patterns or strange, kind of like shoes and stuff that I loved, and I went out to pick out with my parents. And my parents also had like quite a free spirit and style. So I remember my mom, for example, she would always wear really clothes that nobody else had, and I think people would always like look at her for it, and she would be seen. And so my mom was quite young when I was in school. So all like the boys in my school would sometimes be like, oh, this is your mom and so on. So that felt a little bit weird to me. So I think I often felt judged for the style I had and for the style that my mom had. And like it would be too much, and it would be, it would make us stand out. It would make me stand out. And back then, all I wanted was not stand out at all. So when I went into meditation to feel into that, I just imagined to walk with these clothes into the classroom and see people maybe laugh or whatever. And then I would just walk in confidently, because before I walked in the classroom, I imagined I had a conversation with my parents, and they would tell me, you know what, it's okay to be an individual. It's okay to have your own style and be, unique in who you are. Everybody is, but not everybody has discovered this yet. So if people judge you, that is not against you. It is actually just because they don't know better. And maybe their parents aren't that liberated in this way. So I closed my eyes and I just imagined my parents telling me that. Now, why is it helpful to do that? Because your brain doesn't actually know the difference between reality and imagination. So you can go back. That's why inner child work is so powerful. When you go into meditation and connect to your inner child, connect to your body, take a few deep breaths, and then just imagine to tell your inner child, no matter what age, no matter the circumstances, just tell them something that feels relatively realistic to you, even if it's not the truth. For me, what I could imagine, what felt possible to imagine, was that they explained me that. Because I could even imagine that they would. And so I just imagined they would tell me that. And then I imagined I walked into the classroom with the children laughing and saying like, oh, Vanessa, you're wearing strange shoes today. Or the color of your jacket is like a frog or whatever. And I would just feel so at ease because my parents prepared me for it in my imagination. And I would just sit down and think like, okay, they don't get me, but it's okay. I love them anyway. And that brought me so much ease, because then I imagined, okay, how would I have grown up believing that? I would have been so much more happy and free and liberated to be different and not hide it, but actually be proud of it and express it. And I would have felt more earlier in life more confident to go after what I wanted directly and not questioning my creativity and my free spirit and my capacity to create something that helps people in my case. This can be something completely different for you, obviously, but this immediately created the sense of, oh, I'm not a bad person for wanting to bring my voice into the world. I'm not a bad person for trusting my ideas. I'm not a bad person for doing things differently than other people normalized them to do, how to do. So I'm not a bad person for going after what I want, because everybody can and everybody deserves to. And if we have a heart's desire and a drive within us that feels pure and natural, why not go for it? And that really shifted something in my system. So I'm sharing this with you because it really doesn't matter what people think about you. It is all about the meaning you give it. And sometimes we only project onto others that they think about something, but it's maybe not even the truth. We see the world as we are. And I know this is such a cheesy quote, but I don't even remember who it's from, but I really want to bring it back because it is powerful. So for me, for example, I would see when I would walk into a room in the past, like years ago, I would feel like, oh my God, they judge my hair, they judge my face, they judge my body, whatever. And but that's not the truth. Just because I grew up with a parent who would do that doesn't mean the other 7-8 billion people on the planet have grown up or have been taught to, sort of scan everybody like this. And if they did, if they learned that, then they're just in my boat. And that is not a healthy thing. So I do not need to take that seriously, and I do not need to support that narrative, right? So how can I allow myself to trust that there are also other people in the world that do not focus on flaws, that do not focus on the negative immediately, that they actually welcome people and they are kind? And can I also trust myself that I deserve good people, kind people, genuine people, people that are looking to the positive side and not immediately to the negative side? Because think about the fact that people are actually who are doing that when you walk into a room, when you give a presentation, when you go on a date. If they just judge you for whatever you're afraid of, they may judge you for, and they may not even know you yet or whatever, they are missing out on knowing you. They are missing out on getting to know all the parts of you that they have not seen yet or perceived yet or that they don't know yet. Yeah, so it's really important to flip the narrative here. And I've been saying that a lot. And it's so important that you start flipping the narrative from feeling like you are inferior to actually feeling that you deserve people that are kind and genuine to you. Even if you haven't grown up like that, even if there was a person in your childhood or growing up in your surrounding, in your environment, that portrayed the narrative towards you that you are to be judged, that you are not good enough, that you are too much, whatever is your narrative. You understand? It's really important that you realize that through one or few people, this narrative has been implanted on you, but it doesn't need to stay there. Yeah, it's your responsibility as an adult now, and it's a beautiful opportunity rather than a responsibility to flip that switch, to flip that narrative and allow yourself to be loved, allow yourself to be received, allow yourself to be, treated kindly. Because there are people out there who want to treat you kindly, and maybe right now you're pushing them away because maybe you don't trust them or you don't believe them, or they are not even in your orbit. So if at the moment you feel like you're meeting a lot of people who judge you, that maybe is a measure for how much you judge yourself inside. So the work is going inside, looking at where am I judging myself, where does it come from, release that judgment through emotional release. If you're looking for a practitioner to work with, you can reach out to me. You have all the info below, or just reach out to somebody else. Maybe a clinical therapist, maybe an alternative therapist, practitioner, or you just want to try it by yourself, that's fine too. You can use my emotional release meditation to give it a try. It's really powerful, so you can just connect to, in meditation, to a part of you that feels judged or feels activated, and you can see what lies below. So that's a really powerful thing to try for free. And yeah, I just want you to know change is possible, and you don't need to suffer, and you don't need to stay in the narrative that the world judges you, or in the fear and in the box of trying to stay safe. You get to be exactly who you are. The only thing you got to do is learn that this is the truth. And this cannot be done by people validating you from the outside, because we only believe something if we feel something. And we can only feel it when we release the ghosts of the past, when we release the emotional charge and the pain of the root cause of that belief. And that may be really old, it may be recent, but it may be recent as well. Whatever it is, this is where the work is at. Yeah. And for you just to sit down and journal a little bit around, okay, what is the belief that I have right now about myself that may be blocking a lot of things in your life? Yeah. Or maybe not. You know, it really depends on case to case. But this is an invitation for you to understand that once you don't believe that narrative anymore, you couldn't care less about anybody judging you. Like, honestly, when I flipped that switch, like, I barely care now what other people think of me in terms of judgment. Sure, I want to get feedback and all these things, and there's a balance between feedback and constructive feedback, and like caring, genuine feedback, and judgment. Huge gap in between those two, right? And you also got to think about, like, would I really want to surround myself with people that are harsh and unkind and disrespectful and judgmental when I just move into the room, or when I open my mouth, or when I show my body, or when I present my artworks, or whatever your thing is? Think about this. Do you want to, because you get to choose, do you want to be friends with those people? Do you want to work with those people? Do you want to date those people? Do you want to be surrounded by those people? These are the questions that are good to ask yourself. Because sometimes we grow up in a feeling, in the box of inferiority, like we should be bigger and better or more uniform like everybody else. But I don't agree to that. Allow yourself to be uniquely you. And there are people out there that are looking to be your friend, to be your colleague, to be your boss, to be your employee, to be your partner, to be whoever you want to invite into your life. So flip the switch, my friend, because judgment is only as powerful as you allow it to be. And I don't think you want to allow it to be anything anymore, right? Because this is suffering that is unnecessary, and you get to be free of it. So comment below how you feel about this topic, where you feel judged in the world, what rooms you're afraid of most, what maybe your limiting belief is, okay? If you like this video, you know the drill. Please leave a thumbs up. It really helps. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. If this video could help somebody that you know, go ahead, send it to them. And I see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mwah. Bye.